Welcome to episode 9 of Questions for Cole. I'm back after a week off, and there have been a few questions that have come in. I've printed off a few of them for today. In the last episode, I had asked a question of you. I asked you what some of your favorite hymns were, and I asked if you would send those in to us. Thank you so much to those of you who have already sent us your list. For those who haven't, there's still time. We're going to carry this on for a few weeks yet, so pick out some of your favorite hymns, up to 5 maximum, and you can email your list to chris@selkirkunitedchurch.ca. Okay, let's get to this week's questions. The first one comes from an email I received from someone who was telling me about how their Sunday mornings look quite different than they did a few months ago. And then the question is, Cole, what do your Sunday mornings now look like? That's a great question. Well, my Sunday mornings also look very different than they did a few months ago. I'm sure that's true for pretty well everyone right now. For me, let's see, there's no last-minute sermon editing, no driving to church, no chatting with all of you before the service, no standing behind the pulpit leading the service, no shaking hands at the door after the service, and so on. But there is still church. Sometimes I have already watched the whole service before Sunday ever rolls around. And sometimes I do watch it on Sunday morning. I do check the YouTube site throughout the day to see how many views we have. There's almost always 20 or 30 people or so who tune in as soon as it comes out at 8:30 in the morning on Sunday. Those are our Selkirk United Church keeners. And then we're always up over 100 households or so who have viewed it by the time the service would have actually ended in the olden days, like pre-pandemic. So February or early March, way back then. And then we're usually up over 200 households who have viewed the service by Sunday evening. It's so good to know that we're still able to reach so many people and that everyone is still going to church in a way, even though it looks so different than it did a few months ago. But it is a very strange sensation having recorded the service a few days earlier and then waiting to see the finished product and waiting to see if there are comments or likes or what the number of views ends up being. The rest of my Sunday ends up being spent with a number of different things. There are always some phone calls that I need to make and emails and texts to answer. I'll sometimes post something on our church's Facebook page. I'll catch up on what some of the other churches and ministers are doing for their Sunday worship services, chat with a few of my colleagues. And the one thing that is really different from my usual routine is that on Sunday afternoons these days, I almost always start preparing for the next week, which is not normal for me at all. But the way things are now, with everything happening earlier in the week than it used to, Sacrilegion on Tuesday, so invitations have to be sent out for people to connect through Zoom. Questions for Cole and the midweek message are recorded on Wednesday. The Sunday service is recorded on Thursday. Hymns need to be sent out earlier than usual so we can record them early in the week. Everything is just a lot earlier than it used to be. I just feel like I need to get a handle on all of that stuff on Sunday. At least get started on it for the next week. So Sunday ends up looking more like what a Tuesday or a Wednesday would have looked like in the office a few months back. And finally, at the end of the day, I check to see if there's any news about baseball starting up. And there never is. So that's my Sunday these days. Thank you for the question. Let's see what we have next. Oh yes, this next question has been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this one, and I can't believe nobody other than Chris has commented about this before now. But finally, yesterday during our Sacrilegion gathering on Zoom, someone commented on my lovely backwards questions for Cole sign. And they wondered why. Why is it backwards? Good question. Well, the answer to that starts way back when we were first starting to record online. The pandemic had been declared, state of emergency. We were learning all of this new technology, and we were asking people to send their pictures in so we could put them on our SUC website. And one of the very first pictures that someone sent in had one of our I Love SUC signs on it, but the printing on it was backwards. And in my mind, I thought, oh, so when you take a picture of something with your phone, everything is backwards. I didn't bother testing that theory, obviously, because I was too busy getting ready for my very first Questions for Cole episode. And so I got right to work thinking, I'm so clever. I'm going to write the words Questions for Cole backwards on my little square chalkboard, which I still have. Take a look. So I I wrote that right away, that very first day, just before recording, and I thought, now it'll look forwards when I record it. I'm so clever. I thought it would appear normal when I showed it on YouTube. I thought people would be so impressed with how clever I am. So I did that. I got my chalk out and I very carefully printed out questions for Cole backwards on my chalkboard. And then I recorded the session. Then I pressed stop recording. Then I pressed play just to check it and make sure that everything was okay. And there on my screen was my very clever backwards sign, still backwards. Why? It didn't make any sense. I never was very good with physics, or some might say with common sense in general, but I think it might have something to do with the I Love SUC picture being taken into a mirror. I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious that my sign was backwards, so I had the artist in the family do up an even better backwards sign, knowing that people would get a kick out of it when they commented on it or asked a question about it later that day, I was sure, or maybe later in the week. But nobody sent in a question, so I left it up the second week. Still nothing. Third week, nothing. Fourth week, crickets. And here we are at episode 9 of Backwards Questions for Cole. And finally somebody asked me about it. Well, it's going to stay backwards now. It's become the official logo of this series, and it's too late to change it now. It's our brand. We have a following. So I hope you like it, and I hope that someone smarter than me can confirm my mirror theory, because I'd really like to know for sure how this happened. But it makes for a good story, I think, so I'm glad it turned out this way. By the way, as I look at the video screen right now in front of me, it looks like it's forwards. So that reinforced my theory way back when, but I was wrong. Thanks for the question. It took you all long enough. And that's it for this week. Next week will again be a holiday week for me, but I will be back in 2 weeks' time with another set of questions for Cole. That is, if anyone sends any in to me between now and then. So keep them coming. The email address, for those who don't know it yet, is cole@selkirkunitedchurch.ca. You can type that in forwards, not backwards, on your computers. Hope you all have a good couple of weeks and stay well. God be with you.